Rain slid down the window like melted glass, blurring the city lights into long ribbons of gold and violet. We were tucked into a corner booth at Orchid, Elise's favorite restaurant intimate, candlelit, the kind of place where you spoke in. Soft voices and laughed behind wine glasses. Elise sat beside me, but her body tilted toward the woman across from us. Cassandra looked like a Vogue editorial silk blouse, blunt cut bob, and that certain confidence older women wore like a second skin. She was everything Elise had once claimed to resist. They were deep in conversation design theory, color systems, trends for the next season. I offered a few thoughts, but mostly I sipped my Malbec and watched. Their eye contact was a thread that kept tugging Dot every time Cassandra said something. Elise smiled before she even answered, a kind of muscle memory in her lips. I'd seen that smile before on our second date, when I leaned over to brush a sesame seed off her cheek, and she looked at me like I was the only person in the world. That smile used to be mine, Dot, now it belonged to someone else. Dessert? Cassandra offered, glancing at Elise, not me. Elise hesitated. I think I left my umbrella inside. I'll be quick. I stood to follow her, but she waved me off. Stay. You hate drizzle, so I stayed, obedient. A familiar ache settled in my chest. Through the restaurant window, I watched her slip back inside. 3 minutes passed, then 5. Something inside me tightened. I turned back toward the glass, and that's when I saw it. Cassandra was standing far too close. One hand on Elise's wrist, the other brushing her jaw. Elise tilted her face, lips parted, not hesitant, not conflicted. Cassandra kissed her like she had a claim, and Elise kissed her back like she'd been waiting for the moment. I didn't move. My body forgot how to dot. The rain soaked through my coat as I walked to the car. She didn't come home that night. My phone buzzed once at 1:12 a.m., staying at Cass's late brainstorm. When she walked through the door the next morning, Elise was wearing the same dress as last night, slightly wrinkled, hair tucked back hastily, lips glossed in a shade that wasn't hers, but it was the scent that did it. Spiced amber, sandalwood, a trace of pepper, the same perfume Cassandra wore when she hugged me at the start of dinner. You're up early, Elise said, as if I were the one doing something wrong. Couldn't sleep, I murmured. You stayed at her place? She yawned and nodded, heading toward the kitchen. Did anything happen? I asked, hating myself for needing to hear her say it. To lie, to make it better. She blinked at me, almost amused. What do you mean? I saw you through the window after you went back inside. For a beat, silence, and then she laughed. You're being dramatic. Cass was just thanking me for something. Don't read into it. I stared at her, blood ringing in my ears. You kissed her? No, she kissed me, she snapped. It wasn't anything. You kissed her back. She turned away. God, you're so insecure sometimes. Is that what this is? Jealousy? Because she's more successful than us? U.S., as if we were still a we. She poured herself coffee like we were imploding in real time. I know what I saw, I said quietly. And I know what you think you saw, she replied. But if you're going to spiral, I'm not playing therapist today. I should have screamed, should have thrown something. But instead, I nodded because I wasn't going to scream. I was going to understand. I was going to confirm. That night, she fell asleep in the bedroom. I could hear the gentle rise and fall of her breath, oblivious, untouched by guilt. I sat in the living room, hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea. At 2:07 a.m., I walked into the study where her laptop sat charging. The same one we'd bought together at the start of her job at Oren Designs. She'd insisted on rose gold, said it made her feel like a real designer. Her password was still my birthday. Once I was in, I opened her email. The folder was titled Mentor Projects. Inside were dozens of threads, conversations with Cassandra, subject lines like updated files, our pitch, and use this one instead. M didn't finish it. Attached was a document. I clicked, and there it was. My design. The layout, the typography, the tone. I created it 6 months ago on a rainy Sunday when Elise was too tired to brainstorm. I'd built it as a surprise. She said it changed everything. But this version had been slightly modified, refined, and submitted to the firm, under Cassandra's name with Elise listed as an assistant. My name erased. I opened another email. Cassandra, you were right, your partner has an eye, but no. Drive. With your polish, the board will never know. I've put in for the showcase next quarter. Keep her quiet. My throat closed. Keep me quiet. I closed the laptop. My reflection stared back in the black screen wide-eyed, trembling but alive. Something sharp began to rise inside me. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Clarity. They hadn't just stolen my girlfriend. They'd stolen my work. And that was the last night I ever cried for Elise. 3 years ago, she walked into my life with mascara smudged under her eyes and a tote bag filled with unfinished poems. Elise was heartbreak in human form, fresh out of a toxic relationship. Every word she spoke trembled with the weight of what she'd survived. Her laugh came in pieces. Her shoulders curled inward like she hadn't been allowed to take up space in years. I didn't try to fix her. I just held her. Offered silence when she needed it, and Raymond at 1 a.m. when she didn't know she did. We met in the art building of the community college, me finishing my portfolio. Her auditing classes to distract from the mess she'd left behind. I'd never seen anyone touch a pencil the way she did. She drew like she was remembering something she'd buried. We fit instantly. 2 women on the edge of becoming, she said. I made her feel safe. I thought that was enough. We built a rhythm, soft and steady. Weeknights were for takeout and design sprints at the kitchen table. Weekends meant bookstores and cheap wine, long walks by the lake where we whispered dreams into the dark. Elise wanted to start over. I wanted to help her. So I did. I helped her build her first design portfolio, chose her fonts, retouched her color palettes, rewrote her bios until she no longer sounded scared of herself. When she doubted her talent, I stayed up till sunrise, proving her wrong. You have the eye, I tell her. You just need the mirror. She looked at me like I was the mirror, like I gave her back to herself. When she landed an interview at Orin Designs, we celebrated with Prosecco on the fire escape. I remember the way she danced barefoot under the string lights, hair messy, eyes bright. I think this is it, she said, twirling. My real life. And in that moment, I believed her. Orin was prestigious, urban, sleek, and that's where she met Cassandra. It started innocently. Elise came home glowing after her first week. She's a legend, she gushed. She noticed my pitch deck and said I have vision. Cassandra was older, early 40s, always in black, eyes like polished stone. She'd built her reputation mentoring young designers. She's helped so many women grow, Elise said. She wants to help me find my edge. The first time I met her was at a networking gala Elise dragged me to. Cassandra was magnetic. No doubt. She oozed polish, control, a quiet kind of command that made people straighten their posture mid-sentence. She shook my hand with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. So you're the partner, she said, not unkindly. Nice to finally meet the person behind the sketches. It felt like a compliment, almost. Later, I told Elise I felt weird around her. She's intense, I said, and a little territorial. Elise laughed. You're being dramatic. When our friends met Cassandra at a launch party, my best friend Lena pulled me aside. She stares at Elise like she owns her, she said. Watch your back. But I didn't. I trusted Elise. I trusted us. Then the little changes began. Late nights at the office. Canceled plans. Forgotten birthdays. I told myself it was the job. The pressure. She was chasing her dreams. I couldn't. Be selfish. So I became smaller, quieter, took freelance projects I didn't love. Just to keep the lights on while Elise chased promotions, I turned down a design fellowship in Chicago, my dream, because she said she needed stability. I stayed in our apartment, waited through her deadlines, cooked for one more often than not. When she started saying things like, Cass thinks I could be lead designer by fall, I smiled. When she started calling Cassandra Cass, I didn't. One day, I stopped by her office to surprise her with lunch. The receptionist hesitated. She's in a one-on-one. Want me to knock? I waved her off. I'll just wait inside. The door was slightly ajar. I peeked in and saw Elise and Cassandra, laughing, sitting too close, Elise's hand on Cassandra's knee. Nothing happened, but it was enough. When she finally came out, she looked startled, not guilty, just annoyed. You should have texted, she said. We were in the middle of a critique. I handed her the sandwich. She didn't eat it. Week later, she came home late and smelled like a new perfume amber. Smoke, something dark and expensive. I didn't know you'd changed scents, I said gently. She shrugged. Cass gave me a sample. You don't like it? It was the same perfume I would smell again the night she came home after kissing Cassandra. Looking back now, I can pinpoint the exact moment I started to disappear. Thought it wasn't a betrayal, all that. Once it was a slow disassembly. She stopped asking me what I thought. She started dressing for someone else. She stopped calling me her muse, started calling Cassandra her inspiration. And yet, on her new desk at Orin Designs, she kept the framed photo of us cheek to cheek, wind in our hair, both of us laughing like the world couldn't touch us. She didn't take the photo down. Even as she erased me from everything else, I was a keepsake before her. I remember sitting on the couch late one night, staring at that photo on her Instagram caption, grateful for every hand that helped me climb. She didn't tag me, didn't credit me for the pitch deck I designed that landed her the Cassandra mentorship in the first place, but I wasn't surprised. By then, I had already learned what I was, a stepping stone, a launch pad, the sun that warmed her until she found someone with their own orbit, brighter, older, better connected. People talk about betrayal like it's a knife. For me, it was a slow dissolve, a glass of water filled drop by drop with poison, until one day it wasn't water anymore. It was something I couldn't swallow. The sound of the shower ran behind the bedroom, door like static white noise for a life unraveling. I sat in the darkened living room, laptop balanced on my knees, the screen's glow casting a blue halo over my hands. Hands that once held her, helped her, built her dreams while mine quietly withered on the back burner. The password still worked, my birthday. Still, a small detail that made everything worse. I clicked through folders she never bothered to rename, and then I saw it, mentor projects. My pulse quickened. I opened it, email after email, nested and color-coded. Between Cassandra and Elise, dozens of subject lines that felt benign until they didn't. Concept refinement, updated draft Monday, prep, add to Cass's deck, and then I saw the attachments, design layouts, typography sketches, a campaign pitch. I opened one and froze. It was mine. The layout, the colors, the spacing. I knew every brushstroke, every vector. I'd stayed up for 3 nights straight last winter, building it for a pitch Elise never submitted. She said it was too bold, too off-brand. Apparently, Cassandra disagreed. She'd only made minor adjustments, recolored some elements, cleaned the lines, softened the edge. But it was my work, my idea, my concept, born in a thunderstorm of self-doubt and coffee-stained sketches. And my name? Gone. I scrolled deeper, an email from Elise to Cassandra. This is the original concept Mara made. Think it's strong, just too raw. Maybe you can refine it? Then Cassandra's reply. Great bones. With polish, this could anchor the whole campaign. I'll present it Monday. Don't worry, I'll speak for both of us. Both of us. I stared at the phrase like it could bite me. No attribution. No mention of the hours I poured into it, of how Elise sat at the kitchen table while I revised every iteration to the hum of her approval. She knew. She knew what it meant to me. And she gave it away like it was furniture she didn't want to move. When Elise came out of the shower, towel around her shoulders, I was still seated, laptop open, eyes hollow. She saw the screen and stopped mid-dash step. Her face went still. You're going through my emails? I looked up slowly. You erased me? Her jaw tightened. It wasn't stealing. You never submitted that design. I created it. She crossed her arms. It wasn't finalized. And you never copyrighted it. Cassandra said. I stood. Up too fast, my voice cracking. Cassandra said. Are you a student or a partner in crime now? Elise rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. She refined it. We made it better. You're acting like this is some conspiracy. You didn't just steal my work, I said, voice low, trembling. You stole my trust, my name, my voice. Silence, then the shrug that killed what little was left of me. Look, she said, I didn't think you'd care. You weren't. Using it, I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. I wasn't using it? Her face hardened. You're always so sensitive. I don't remember the rest of the argument, only how it ended, with me curled on the couch, trying to breathe. Her closing the bedroom door behind her like we weren't in the same story anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling as the air shifted from guilt to grief to numbness. I didn't eat, didn't check messages, didn't move. Friends texted, Lena called twice. I let it ring. I deleted my design Instagram, my art Tumblr, the old YouTube tutorials I made when I still believed I had something to offer. The silence was clean, almost holy. I thought about what it would be like to stop existing, not to die. Just to vanish. Leave the world without explanation, like smoke dissolving in cold air. It wasn't a desire to end things. It was the ache of being erased. But around 3 a.m., I pulled out the old sketch journal I hadn't touched in months. It still smelled faintly of coffee and vanilla ink. I flipped through the pages like a woman sifting through memory rubble, and there it was. Page 42, the original. Sketch. Raw, chaotic, perfect outlines jagged from overthinking. Notes scribbled in the margins. Make the horizon bolder. Add warmth to the gradient. A coffee ring on the corner. My initials in black pen. Dated. The proof. The genesis. The unedited version of who I was before she decided I was optional. I tore it out carefully, hands steady now. Walked to the mirror. Taped it to the glass dot and beneath it. In my own handwriting, I scrawled, I exist. And I created this. The next morning, Elise made coffee like nothing happened. She didn't mention the night before. She didn't ask about the journal page. Taped to the mirror. She just packed her work bag and left with that same spiced amber scent trailing behind. Her legs smoke. Over the next few days, I stayed quiet. Let her think I was deflating. That I was surrendering. That I was doing the opposite. I was becoming flammable. I scanned the sketch, emailed a backup to myself, then to my old design professor. Then to Lena. I started drafting the list. Contacts, design boards, copyright filings. Submission dates. Elise had stolen something sacred, but she forgot one thing. I was the origin. And origin stories. They always come back louder. I didn't pack much. 3 sketchbooks, 2 sets of clothes. 1 framed sketch mine, the original. The one they tried to erase. I left the city without goodbye posts, without drama, without telling Elise. No vengeance. No confrontation. Just silence. and a one-way train ticket to a place no one knew my name. The town was small, watercolor-like. Cottages faded into hues of pink and coral like they'd been sun-bleached on purpose. The sea was always near salt. In the air, gulls overhead. The sound of waves like a lullaby played too many times. Checked into a one-room residency above a bookstore that smelled like cedar and old ink. There was no Wi-Fi, no clocks, no pressure. For 2 weeks, I didn't say much. I walked the pebbled shore. I sketched without purpose. I cooked small, quiet meals for one and ate them with the window open. My phone stayed off. So did my voice. Met Joan on a Thursday. She owned the cafe by the docks. Her hair was the color of sea foam on driftwood, and her eyes had the kind of calm you only get after surviving the fire. She didn't ask what. I was running from She just served black coffee in cracked ceramic mugs and said, "Some people think healing is about fixing, but sometimes it starts by burning old maps." I stared at her. She just nodded toward my sketch pad. "Whatever you're drawing, keep going." That night, I went back to my room and opened the last printed photo of Elise. And me. It was a Polaroid from the first spring we lived together. We were laughing, leaning into each other, blurry from motion and too much trust. I held it over the stove flame and watched it curl edges first, then faces. When it was gone, I felt lighter. The only thing I kept was my sketch journal, the one with the torn page. I taped to the mirror. It had coffee stains, salt smudges, a drawing of a house I dreamed of building one day. I started drawing again. Not for approval, not for clients. For myself. I drew a woman standing on a cliff, hair flying like fire. I drew a lighthouse with no light, only warmth. I drew a hand, letting go of another hand and smiling. They weren't perfect, but they were real, mine. One rainy evening, I mailed a bundle of sketches to Camille, a friend in Paris who used to curate virtual design exhibitions. No pressure, no expectation, just a note. If you think anyone might care, feel free to share. Then I forgot about it. Weeks passed. I planted herbs in a chipped teacup. I painted the windowsill blue. Joan gave me a cracked mug one morning and said, "It leaks a little, but it still holds warmth." I used it every day. Every morning. I drank coffee from it while watching the sea. Then one evening, there was a letter slipped under my door, postmarked from Berlin. "Dear Mara, we came across your work in the virtual exhibit. Your concepts breathe, with authenticity rare and arresting. We'd like to discuss a possible collaboration. Please write us back." I stared at the letter so long, I forgot to breathe. Berlin. Miles away from Cassandra. From Elise, from every boardroom that asked me to water myself down. They had seen me raw, unbranded, unpolished, and they wanted more. I walked to the shore that night, letter in hand. The sky was bleeding orange and lavender. The sea whispered, the same thing Joan did. "You're allowed to start over." I wasn't healed yet. Some days I still woke up wondering what Elise was doing. Whether she missed me, whether she still drank tea before bed or played my old playlist. But those thoughts passed faster now. I didn't chase them. I let them come, then let them leave. Healing wasn't loud. It wasn't grand. It was quiet. A cracked mug, a sketch without judgment, a walk by the sea. A letter from Berlin. It was rediscovering the sound of my own name and my own voice. It was no longer needing anyone else to say it. And for the first time in years, I believed I didn't need her to come back, because I was already finding my way forward. The first time I saw my name in print, my full name, was on the cover of the portfolio I submitted to the Rome Symposium. Mara E. Linton. No joint credit, no shared watermark. No invisible asterisk to footnote my contribution. Just me. I held the folder in my hands for a long time. The cardstock was heavy, navy blue, stitched at the spine. At the bottom corner, barely visible unless the light hit it right. A tiny, hand-drawn sun dot. It wasn't just a design choice dot, it was a declaration. I am the light you can't steal. Rome was louder than the quiet seaside town. But I didn't flinch anymore. Walked cobblestone streets with sketchbooks under my arm and a soft linen dress that didn't hide me. I spoke to strangers in Italian. I was still learning. I laughed with other designers from Seoul, Oslo, Cape. Found out my accent didn't matter. My past didn't matter, only my work did. And for once, I let it speak without apology. My final piece was bold, raw, personal. It was a reimagining of the very concept Cassandra had tried to pass off as hers, only this time the curves were sharper, the shadows deeper, the story unmistakably mine. When I unveiled it, there was a pause. Then someone whispered, "Is this based on a case I read about?" Another murmured, "I think I know that story." And I smiled, because they did. When I took the stage, I didn't shake. Not like I had at Elisa's old office that day. Not like I had when I cried into Joan's cracked mug. No, this time, my voice was steady. And when I said, "Silence is the most expensive thing a woman can give away," no one looked away. I spoke of stolen credit, of designs that vanish into bigger hands, of women made to be scaffolding, supporting, dispensable. I talked about Cassandra. About Elise. About the journal, the torn page, the proof. I didn't name them, but the story rang loud anyway. When I finished, the room stood. Someone shouted, "Say your name again." I leaned into the mic. Mara E. Linton, the name on the work, the name they erased, the name I reclaimed. The next morning, my inbox broke. Design students sent sketches with their own names, signed at the top, bold and centered. A 42-year-old whistleblower wrote, "They've been using my designs for years. I thought I was crazy. I'm not." A young intern from Cassandra's firm sent one sentence, "She's applying for the Phoenix Award with your concept." Again, Elise is listed as co-creator. Attached were the files, time-stamped, cross-referenced, embarrassingly obvious. The same stolen structure, my original lines. This time paired with a cringe-worthy new name, Phoenix. Rising by C. Vale and Elise Dorn. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just closed the laptop, took a deep breath, and exhaled the last bit of fear I'd carried for years. I replied with a thank you and attached a dated scan of the original. Journal page. I added the exhibit invitation from Paris, the symposium speech, my contract with the Berlin firm. Then I called my lawyer. The next 48 hours moved fast. Cassandra's firm withdrew their Phoenix submission for internal review. Elisa's name was quietly scrubbed from the co-creator field. A statement followed. Due to questions surrounding authorship, we will be conducting a full investigation. No one apologized, they never do. But this time, they didn't need to, because everyone saw the truth before they could bury it. Days later, I received a short, anonymous message in my inbox. It said, "She's been benched indefinitely. Cassandra's under review. They can't touch your name anymore." And beneath it, your son's signature, brilliant, keep burning. I sat on the balcony of my Rome apartment, watching the light slide off the terracotta roofs. In my lap was a new sketchbook. And on the first page, I drew a woman standing in a gallery. Her back straight, her hands ink-stained. Behind her, her own name etched in gold. Beside it, a glowing sun, not stolen, not borrowed. Owned. I no longer wanted revenge. I wanted justice, and I got it not just for me, but for every woman whose voice was ever written out of her own story. This wasn't the end. This was the first chapter of the life I chose. Now, every time I sign my name, I add that tiny sum. Not for her. Not for them, but for me, because I was the light all along. The posters plastered across the design conference lobby read like headlines: Reclaiming Space, Innovation by Women in Design. Beneath it, a rotating list of speaker names. Bold, triumphant dot, and for the first time in years mine was there. Mara E. Linton dot, it hadn't been at first. When I'd accepted the anonymous invitation when the email said, "We believe your story deserves a platform," I thought I'd be buried somewhere in a side panel. But the night before the event, something changed. The organizers added me publicly. I didn't ask why. I just watched as Twitter lit up. Is that the Mara Linton? She's back. Oh my God. Finally. Justice on a stage that matters. I didn't retweet, didn't post, but I saw it all. And I breathed. The morning of the conference, the venue buzzed like a hive. Lanyards clicked. Murmurs floated above. Coffee carts. I kept my head down as I entered the speaker wing. Then I saw her. Elise. Standing by the bathroom hallway, scrolling her phone like it held the last ounce of control she had. She looked up as I passed. Our eyes met, and she looked away. No apology, no confrontation, just absence. Cassandra, on the other hand, was all confidence. She strolled past me in the green room, dressed in curated beige and gold. A microphone clipped like a medal to her collar. She smirked until she saw what I was carrying. Frame, simple, wooden, no flash, no noise inside it. My original design, sketched in ink, dated, signed. Cassandra stopped. Mid-step. Her eyes flicked from the paper to me and back. Something flickered. Not panic, not guilt. Recognition. She knew she'd been seen. She did the stage before me. Big screen behind her. Applause rising. Design is a language of many voices, she began. And like any language, its strength comes from collaboration. I folded my arms. She was pivoting, spinning. This piece, she continued, showing my design in a watered-down form, was born not from a single spark, but from a fire of shared ideas. There were nods in the crowd, a kind of polite, programmed nods that mean nothing. Then I stepped backstage. The moderator turned, surprised. "You're ready?" I nodded. And I stepped into the light. They clapped politely until they saw what I held. The frame. No slides. No projections. Just one piece of paper. I adjusted the mic, took a breath. "My name is Mara E. Linton, and this is my voice." Silence. Then I said it. The first time I realized I disappeared was when my work showed up with someone else's name on it. I held up the sketch, turned it slowly. The camera caught the date, caught the signature, and I told the story not as gossip, not as rage. As truth. I described the late nights, the ink stains, the journal entries. I described watching someone I loved erase me, line by line, until I didn't even exist in the margins. But I never disappeared, I said. I just went quiet, and today I'm done being quiet. When I finished, no one moved. Then a single, clapped. Then another, then the entire room rose. Not a standing ovation of spectacle, but of solidarity. Women, men, students, teachers, designers, who'd been erased before, people who finally saw. Cassandra didn't make eye contact the rest of the day. Elise. She vanished. By the end of the week, Cassandra was dropped from the Phoenix Award shortlist. Elise's social media accounts were deactivated. An internal review was announced by their firm. I didn't glow, didn't dance. Because justice isn't a spotlight. It's a sunrise, quiet, inevitable. That night, I walked the coast. No cameras, no applause. Just the wind. I took off my shoes. Let the sand fill the spaces between my toes. The sea whispered against the rocks. And for the first time in years, I felt whole, not victorious, not loud. Just real. Back home, I hung the frame in my new studio. Above my desk. Above my breath, beneath, it etched in soft gold. You can't delete what was always mine.